College campuses this week, and many arrests have been made, namely at the University of Columbia University, I should say. And, just the same scenes playing out with encampments being taken apart because of the fact that a lot of private properties don't allow those kinds of things to take place on their campuses, as it could be a disruption for the events at school that actually take place with students. So looks like we're looking at a smaller protests on the streets of Exposition Park tonight. You can see the USC buildings there, and still a few crowds left at USC as well on campus.
Looks like the breaking news here is that police are detaining protesters one by one on the campus of USC. I'm just checking in. I want to see what's going on. Let's look.
She was on campus at the very beginning part of this protest. She was reporting for KCAL News at 4, 5, and 6. Delia, bring us up to date. What do you know?
Well, directly behind us, you see that there are maybe 2 people left sitting from my vantage point. A third has been removed. And we're talking dozens of people were inside this center circle in the middle of Alumni Park. You had a big group that was sitting down, like the 2 that you see now. Several other, and they were all linked in arms, and several others were standing. And so easily, I would say several dozens of protesters have been arrested and taken away at this time. The first arrest happened in the morning when Department of Public Safety officers here at USC actually started coming in and removing tents. And when you say that you saw a sign that said "End the occupation in Gaza," this protest, according to organizers, was symbolic of that occupation, hence the encampment, hence putting the tents up and staying here with the intention of being here for the long haul and actually making their voices heard. We see that last person who is on the ground there holding the flag of Palestine, and the crowd is cheering. I do want to note that something that I noticed as these protesters were being detained, as they, voluntarily, they got up and, did what officers told them to do. Some had an ear-to-ear smile. It was almost like they were proud of what they're doing. They are strong in their convictions, and they're staying true to what they believe in. So as this last person comes up, it wouldn't be surprising if people start cheering. And if we hear the same chants that we've heard as people have been arrested, which is "shame on you." But even then, I do want to say that it feels very peaceful. Officers from the Los Angeles Police Department, when they came in their formation and boots started moving toward Alumni Park, they were very much on the defensive with their body language, and obviously they were trying to secure the perimeter, as were protesters. Everybody seemed a little on edge, officers on the defensive, and protesters really not knowing where to go or what to do. And of course, you have certain actions that triggered pushing and shoving and throwing water bottles. At one point earlier this morning, a glass bottle was thrown just above us and landed right in front of us, shattering. So there have been incidents here and there, but I want to point out that as of now, even officers are very much relaxed, and it seems like protesters are as well. It almost seems like they're accepting that, the last of those that were in the inner circle, chanting and spreading that message of hopefully a peace in Gaza and peace in Israel, they're now out. And so now it seems like the protesters are now waiting to see what comes next. And I think that's the same for the Los Angeles Police Department officers. They're waiting for an order to see what they do next, how they are going to clear out this area. But everybody seems very calm. And chants are still going on, but it's not as loud as it was earlier. I do want to also point out that, the big question here, and I think what initially triggered the first bout of tension between officers and protesters, was the fact that some student leaders, and we were there when the Department of Public Safety came up and tried to use the megaphone on the patrol car to tell them to clear out. The big question here is, was that enough? And did they give the protesters enough warning? Because from our vantage point, they attempted to say something. We couldn't even hear what they were saying.
I'm going to break away from the USC for a second and just go through my timeline, hear the thoughts on what people are saying. So that's USC. Looks like they're getting one by one. Looks peacefully, and like they're not having to literally drag them up out of there, but they're dragging protesters out. This seems different to me than, for multiple reasons, this seems different than Black Lives Matter. And in comparison, people are saying, well, here's the summer of love again. No, that's not, they're not the same. It might be the same people, but this time they're going against Biden, not with Biden. 2020 was for Biden, believe it or not. As crazy as that sounds, 2020 was momentum. It was a bring out the vote operation. No, I mean that literally. I don't want to relive 2020, but I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. It was literally a bring out the vote operation where they set everything up and it was during the pandemic to get people out, and then they had the operation to register people. This year, I'm hearing that the voters that are out there to be registered, depending on the area you're in, are not Biden supporters. So then there's that. I'm hearing that in some areas they're saying don't register voters like they used to. So I don't know if we're going to see the same celebrity push like we used to. This is gonna be a tough one to rig. This is gonna be a tough one to sell. This is gonna be a real tough one to sell. He got 81 million last time. He's gonna need the 81 million again. How are you gonna sell that? So maybe I've been going back and forth. I've been saying, well, they were gonna swap out. I think there are people who want to swap out Biden still, and that can still happen. But I think there's an intra-squad battle there to protect Biden or to swap him out. If you swap Biden out, then some people who are in power right now, they wouldn't be in power. But I just don't know how you sell a Biden win at this point. But this is not Black Lives Matter. This isn't an Act Blue. This isn't registering and getting small dollar donations for Act Blue. It's just not working. That's not what this is. So you can't compare this to Black Lives Matter. And I think we talked about this, yesterday or, yeah, was it yesterday? Oh my gosh. It was been a long 24-hour-ish. I'm like, yesterday, it felt like last week. Let them cook. Just let them go ahead. What's the problem? I might even have a different take, maybe a better take. Hopefully it is a better take on Black Lives Matter. What was the problem with Black Lives Matter? We know it was all scam and all that, but they did it in blue areas. They're on USC campus. They're in blue cities, blue areas. Let them do what they need to do. That's what you supported. That's what you voted for. You cultivated these students, and morally they have the upper hand. And that's another difference from BLM. You can't compare these to BLM. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to, with you, just like with you, Loaded Wrench and Toy Mafia and Adventurous Guide to the Galaxy. I haven't seen you in a minute. What's up? I'm trying to crowdsource ideas and theories from you all. This isn't the Daily Wire. This isn't the Babylon Bee. I'm not Seth. You can ask questions. We welcome questions here. I don't know why it's different. I don't know. To me, I think it's just the horror of seeing what's happening in the Middle East and then being told the same people that tried to get them with BLM and all that are now telling them you have to be with that country, and they're not buying it. I just don't think they're not buying it. It's not working. And you're not automatically going to sell them on it. I don't think this is there has to be funding from somewhere. So I'm 100% for, if you want to chase the money, I'm never going to tell somebody, don't follow the money. You'll never hear me say that. But I think we have to assume it's so large now. And there's a video that went viral where there was a couple young ladies who they were with the protest, but they didn't really know what they were doing there. It wasn't as bad as people try to make it sound, because obviously if you're on a college campus and there's a crowd of people somewhere and you want to fit in and you want to see what's going on, you're going to kind of walk up and see what's going on. I mean, but I think it's different because they're going against the same people that I go against, that I challenge. And I welcome that. They're challenging the military-industrial complex. They're challenging Joe Biden. They're challenging the regime. How that happened, I don't know. They created a monster they can't control. But like I said, with the funding, people are saying they were backed by groups from George S. And I don't know, that might be true. I don't know. I'm still thinking through that. George S. might be of the mindset that any chaos is good chaos, because that really is the part of the by any means necessary. That really is part of that. The Marxist way is just chaos. Chaos is what will topple the bourgeoisie. So he might be just trying to do chaos of any type. So there's another theory that we're working through that, just chatting online is what I mean by that, is the chaos brings in and puts the government in a chess move position. So if you're a billionaire funding these protests, which I'm not sold on, this doesn't feel like BLM. This feels more authentic, but so I might have changed my position on that from maybe months ago. You're funding it, and you're putting, like Governor Abbott, you're putting him in a position to overuse or to bring in forces that kind of will bring in more of a draconian era. I mean, even we also saw, here's a good example of it. If you want to see a good example of the protests, I don't know if this is planned or not. I'm not even alleging that. Honestly, not alleging that. But what it also did was bring in, I think, what is clearly an illegal act of Congress. So the protests, whether it's planned or not, they do bring this aspect with them. Congress is breaking the law, and that's just flat out. I'm not arguing it. You can argue. I'm not trying to mince my words on it. Congress is currently breaking the law, and what they're doing is they're now talking about forcing out another head. I don't know who is it. I forget the name of it. It's Colombia's, President Shafik. So that's another. So they're trying to catch another body, and the problem was you don't stop them from the first time it was illegal. So they do it. They caught Claudine Gay, and then I already forgot the name of the other one. And then now they're coming for Shafik. So they're trying to catch 3 bodies now, all illegal. Congress is breaking the law. And I'm bringing this up from the standpoint of the protests. And I'm not even against the protesters. I mean, morally, I actually agree with the protesters. I don't want to hear if somebody says that they're cheering for Hamas. I don't want to hear it. I am not in the mood for that. I am not in the mood for, especially if it's coming from somebody who's cheering on what the country is doing over there to innocent people. You don't get to tell me who's cheering for Hamas or not, and that country is no different than Hamas to me. So that's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter to me. It is illegal for a congressperson acting in their official capacity, meaning you've got to parse it out because they still have free speech in their personal lives. And this is Elise Stefanik, and she did this from her personal account, but they were on the stage with Mike Johnson. So I think and she did it in the hearing already too. Acting in an official capacity to mandate that a private university or any private company fire its leadership or force them to resign, that is illegal. That is not allowed in the United States of America. But we are not the United States of America right now. We are the United States of Israel. We are now Israel's bitch officially. We are out here and in some cases having batons out to beat the ass of students in America on behalf of another country. That is not a position that we should be in. And now our Congress people are saying, I want you to resign. It's a private university. You don't get to tell a private university who to hire and who to fire. That's illegal. Because the only duty a legislator has, our government's very simple. The only responsibility and duty you have is to make law. So if you, under an official capacity, try to put pressure on a private organization to make any decision, then that's under the threat of legislation. It's illegal. It can't happen. And the same people who tell me that the social media companies should have First Amendment protections don't agree with this statement. Why? Because I did it yesterday. Eureka! I found something out. The word conservative really means Zionist, Zionism. And I didn't think I had to define that, but I think we do have to define that. I was listening to Tim Pool, another great episode today, even though there's some disagreement there. Tim's getting a little bit better on Israel, but there's still a little bit of instead of like a cringe where I'm almost like turning it off, it's almost like a little cringe. But Ari Jacob was on there too, and she's great. I just found out about her, so that's cool in the new studio. But I understand what Tim was talking about, and people, and I've said many times I don't like the term Zionist. Why? Is because people just use it like racist, and it doesn't have any meaning anymore. But Zionist does have a meaning, and the meaning of Zionist is someone who prioritizes the protection of Israel over any other position. That's my definition. Maybe I'll refine it, but that's all I mean by it. Is somebody that puts that's why I kept saying I'll say Israel first, but we already have a word for it. I kept saying, well, you're Israel first. There's a word for it. It's been around even before Israel was created. It's Zionist, and it's a real word, and it does have real meaning. Of course, people can bastardize it, but it's not a complicated. I mean, it's very simple. Very simple definition. If you prioritize the protection of Israel over every other topic, then you are a Zionist. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing conservatives. We should be, I'm not a conservative, but people should be sitting back eating popcorn, kind of like, enjoying the left eating each other. Instead, there's people like cheering on police force to take batons to the protesters. They're not protesting you. Black Lives Matter was protesting MAGA. This is not a protest against MAGA. I know it's the same people, but you gotta we're not doing a good job of identifying, sometimes it's a time to just shut up. Sometimes it's a time to encourage. Sometimes you got to do different things at different times. This is not 2020. This is not helping Joe Biden. Joe Biden was just at, I forget the school, and there was like 10 people there. There's no energy there. There's no college people going there. Their minds are somewhere else. And besides that, they're right on this issue. Let's take a look. So let's have the conversation about conservatism. 14, Metallica Freak. That's a good name. Conservatism, adverse to change or innovation and holding traditional values. I mean, that can be a general. What does it mean politically, though? See, that doesn't have a definition politically. You can look at Wiki, it's just all vague. It's not, there's no definition for conservative. Averse to change. What does that mean? So if the Supreme Court has one ideology now, are you adverse to changing that? It doesn't fit. It's a very vague term. It's like right wing. So I would probably put right wing in with conservative. It just means Zionism. That's all it means. Loaded Wretch is like, it's all Zionism. What do you say? You're not really talking to me, brother. It's all Zionism. I don't see populism is not. Populism is not Zionism. Kenya from Cali, always great to see you, says, I think Congress should not be involved, but the mayors and governors should with law and order. So here's you're right, they can, but here's what my position is. Why not just let them, Kenya, just get you a bag of Redenbacher and just chow down. Get the movie style with the extra butter and sit on the couch and let's go tap in. This is what I want you to do. Well, you can do whatever you want. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to do a search. I kind of like that because YouTube is pretty much safe. Twitter is not safe. My Twitter is not safe. I do not have any restrictions on it. So even if you're searching like Daily Wire, you can see somebody naked on there. Okay, so this is what I want to do. I want to grab a bag of popcorn. I should have some popcorn down here. And I want to go on YouTube, and then I want to go see where are we talking about with the... Okay, we're going to watch live. This is the stream I was just on. I'm going to try to see if there's a different stream. USC protests. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, the governors can do whatever they need to do, but here's a watch live, LAPD.
Make the point that you just made, which is we want people to be arrested. We want it shown on television, and we want to make a statement. And that's what this is. That's what civil disobedience is all about. The question is just, frankly, how professional these protesters are, because there's always a worry with the command staff at the LAPD that there are people there who are itching for a fight, not to make a statement, but to actually shed some blood.
So you know what you could compare this to, though? It's not a direct comparison, but it does remind me in a way of J6, in that I don't see, they're doing protests here. I don't see any violence on the campus. You know, I say that there's no such thing as a protest at night. That's like a riot. That's cover for a riot or looting. What we're seeing here, though, on the campus has been peaceful. Have you guys seen? I mean, maybe there's been a couple yelling. I haven't seen any type of physical, maybe very minor stuff. And I think we would have seen it with everybody. Everybody's got their cell phones out. I mean, you go, it's dystopian. Literally, everybody's got their cell phones out. So I don't know. Maybe we would miss it, but I didn't see any violence. We saw them lock arms and, you know, being a little bit disrespectful and blocking the way for perceived Jewish, or they don't even, it's not Jewish because a lot of the protesters are Jewish. It's the Zionism. That's why you got to kind of parse it out. I just had Jen Perlman on the show, and she is Jewish, but she's not a Zionist, though. So she would be on the side of the protesters there. And so am I. I think they have the right. They're right. There's nothing. They're going against the military. They're going against Biden. They're going against that country over there. Where do you want me to do? Katie, what do you want me to do? I'm getting too excited now. I'm like, this is great. Am I wrong here? I'm getting giddy. I don't want anybody to get hurt or anything. Definitely don't. I am definitely anti-violence, period. I am not for any violence of any kind. But if they're going to go on, and these are all private, has there been a protest at a public school? It's been all private schools I've been seeing. But, look, whoa, what's going on? Are they on the move? What's up? Whoa.
Where some of these men are trying to attack the officers as they're effecting those arrests.
Sure. Thank you. We know you got to go. All right, sir. Thank you. So
but there's nothing going on
from the LAPD. They had asked for a disbursement. They're not dispersing, and here we go.
But so you can see this is the classic. The police causing the problems, though. What's going on? Nobody's really doing anything.
And we have some LAPD members hanging back. And from above, how are you, sir?
Everybody's a journalist now.
Of what is happening here.
Well, I don't see anything happening.
And you see there are those on the side that are not moving. There are LAPD officers right now who, again, they're saying here that they will be now effecting arrests because the dispersal order has not been given. So they run, they get into place, and you have the LAPD here. See the twist ties right there? Those are the ties that they will take them into custody with. And then we have the LAPD moving in behind them, Metro Police that are coming in to assist with the arrest. You can count on LAPD
arrest for
Metro
what, though?
To be those.
I mean, what are they doing? Am I missing something? Well, I mean, I guess it's a private property. So if USC that's my next question: is USC requesting to have them gone? Are they worried about that money? They worry about losing some shekels? Are they worried about losing some money? I mean, that's fine if the donors don't want to donate, but is USC asking to have them removed? I'm not seeing any problems. And in Austin, we saw Governor Abbott did he bring in the National Guard? I have to double check if they looked like the National Guard. He brought them in, and I'm like, why? What you could have done is bring them in and make sure that the nonsense stays on the campus. Because I have a different take if it's on a private campus and if it spills out into a public street. And you need to get the hell out of my way on the street. That's not where you need to be for protesting. You should have the right to create some new speed bumps if people are in the street protesting. My take there has not changed, just to be clear. They're on a private, to my knowledge, they're on private property right now. So my first question is, did USC ask the police to come? The USC might have asked the police to come to cover themselves from a civil suit from Jewish students who feel threatened. I don't know, because that's where it could go, is a civil suit. But from my standpoint, I'm fine if the police are there just to make sure that nothing gets physical. But why do you need to you're outnumbered too. So that it doesn't even really make sense to try to disperse people when you're outnumbered like that, to me. It's a public nuisance. This is a public nuisance on private property, though? I don't know. So, I mean, somebody help me with that. I don't know if it's a public nuisance. If they're in the public street, of course. But you need a permit. I'm very big on that. But this is a whole different animal with this. And then even beyond that, they have a right to go clear it out, and they should clear it out. But if they're going to protest in these blue areas, then fine. Go ahead. I don't want to say the wrong things. I'm saying go ahead and do what you need to do in that city, just like you did with BLM. Just stay out of the suburbs. Stay out of the areas that don't want that. That's all. I'm fine with that. That's what you created. So go ahead and you raised these babies, kids. You taught them. Remember, what's the name of the book? The book I read, what was it? Not My Name or whatever. I read that book where it's basically teaching 5-year-olds or under to be not only to be activists, to also disobey their family, literally in the book. And you raise them there, then you raise them in middle school with rainbow flags, and they walk out for abortion, stuff they have no idea about. Grown adults don't have good takes on these things. They're walking out of school for banning guns. You're too young. You don't know anything about banning guns. Stop walking out of school for that. Who told you to do that? Walking out for abortion and guns or whatever, and Black Lives Matter. You don't even understand what happened with that. And you're walking out for all these things. And so you raised them and you created them to be activists, but you don't control them like you thought I thought you did, but we're finding out you don't. And now they say we're looking at through TikTok. Then I think we should get there, because I don't have forever. We'll probably get to TikTok then, because it's all TikTok is related to this. So then now you get them on TikTok, and the CCP ByteDance is feeding them videos of American horror, American supported horror. We're supporting it with our politicians are bought off by the country. Our emotional support is with them. Not even if you disagree, if you ask questions, then you're a bigot on them, and you're seeing women and children, verifiable death and destruction through your feed every single day. And then you can't stop it. You see it on X too. And then now you have this. Now you have, wait a second, you raised us to be activists, and now we're kind of growing up and we've got our own mind. And we don't have allegiance to that other country. I don't know where you got that from. So they probably are going to have to go back to the indoctrination and put the blue and white flag there. That's probably the next chess move, is make sure it's Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, and then we'll just kind of slide in that blue and white flag just to make sure when we have to bomb the hell out of Gaza, this doesn't happen next time. We got them covered. I think if we got them covered underneath that flag, we're good. I think they're going to be their next step. Let's see. Mayor Kate, what's up? Mayor Kate says they aren't doing anything besides protesting like they have. I didn't. Somebody tell me where I'm wrong. I'm not seeing anything it's not even close to alarming. I'm not really protest. And I've criticized when we saw was it Memorial Day? No, not Memorial Day. What was it? Veterans Day? I think it was Veterans Day. I forgot when they were in New York climbing the post and taking down the American flag. I was like, this is wild, man. But my take has evolved a little bit even from that, because I was chatting with the people on the left and I was like, man, I don't like these Unlive to America chants and all that. And they didn't really convince me, but I kind of convinced myself that I still don't like the Unlive to America chants. But why would I worry about them more than our own congressmen and women waving another country's flag after they spending our money and sending it over to them in what everybody openly knows is a money laundering scheme? The defense contractors, the CIA went to that sunflower country and they told the gay cocaine snorter, dancer, the ex-comedian TV show star. He was a teacher in the TV show. Wasn't he a teacher in that TV show? I forgot the name of it. And then became president and then really became president. That cokehead, they told him, you're skimming too much off the top. They said, you're skimming. Can you skim less off the top? It's becoming too obvious. And I think I should start with them before I worry about that. The people yelling Unlive to America. They're the ones that we're paying their salaries and they're supposed to work for us. Those people don't work for me. Or you. The people in D.C. do. We got to start at the top first. So I don't want to hear about Hamas supporters. I don't want to hear about Unlive to America. We got to talk about D.C. first. Before we go anywhere. But they did pass the TikTok ban bill, and to my knowledge, it is the same bill. I don't think they didn't do a Senate write-up, to my knowledge. I got to look at it again. Because it usually what happens is the House will do a bill. It was a standalone bill. And then the Senate writes it up. Then it goes back to the House. This one, they just lumped it up. They lumped Taiwan, Israel, Sunflower Country, and banned TikTok all in the same bill. Already signed, sealed, delivered. Joe Biden's still on the talk right now. That's not going to happen soon. There's going to be a lot of legal problems. It's not going to happen before the election. If you thought that him banning their favorite app, are they even? Yeah, TikTok is still big. I know a lot of young people are on Snapchat for some reason, which is fine. I just don't know why. What's the benefit of Snapchat? I don't know. Is it just where the older people aren't? Is it the older people chasing them off Facebook? So then they go to Instagram. Then maybe old people go on there. I'm an old person. Then you go on to Instagram. Then you go to TikTok. And then TikTok becomes whack. Then you go to Snapchat. I don't know, but it's not like they're going to be mad at Joe Biden for banning their favorite app, because it's not going to happen before the election. I think if I were ByteDance and I wanted to fight back, I'm not for ByteDance, just to be clear, but I would pull it before the election. I would tell him, he already signed it, so I don't know what they're going to do, but there's no threat over it now, but I would tell him I'm pulling the app. You don't even want to do it. ByteDance, if you're listening, ByteDance, I know you're listening. CCP. I never, you know what? I give shout outs to my CIA, whoever's assigned to me, the FBI dude that's assigned to me, or lady. I said, what's up? I mean, we should grab a brew or something like that. I'm sure we'd have a good conversation. But I never say hello to my CCP op. What's up? I never say hello to the Mossad op, because I don't know if we could be cool. I want to be. I don't know. Y'all savage. I don't know if if my Mossad agent would be as kind. I hope they would be. But the CCP, if you're listening, if ByteDance, I know you're listening, I think what I would do is pull it, and October is too late, man. They do early voting. I mean, you got to do it now in, September? You got to do it late. You would pull it late August and pull TikTok off the app stores and say he did it and see what happens. That's what I would do. Mayor Kate says being anti-war isn't aimless. Why would I? And I think, is that Mayor Kate from X too? Thanks for stopping by. If that's the same Mayor Kate. I follow Mayor Kate on the X platform, who's real good, libertarian minded. I'm anti-war. I really compartmentalize this stuff a lot. I know these are the same people who would want me locked up. I know those are the same people who consider J6ers as insurrectionists. I know those are the same people that want Donald Trump in jail for life. I know that, but on this issue, they're anti-war, and it's not like there's even a little bit of that mixing in here. They are laser focused on that issue, and I'm all there for it. I'm anti-war too. Maybe it will show you guys there's no reason for us to hate each other. There's absolutely no reason. Oh, yes. Okay, it is the same Mayor Kate. Yes, I was talking to somebody else in chat. No, yeah, I know you were talking to me, but yeah, I just want to make sure. Loaded Wrench says, the chief says hello, Osiris. Who's that? The chief? But thank you. Oh, MG said aimless misfits wasting time rather than rolling up their sleeves, helping the homeless, mindless wasting time. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I agree with Mayor Kate, but that's not a crazy comment to say. But here's the thing. I mean, they're lazy. I mean, you could do both, but you're right. It's not. You could do something else to help America more, because they're not coming from it. Like the one difference is they're not coming from an America first perspective. They're just coming from a oppressed colonizer type of vibe. And yeah, I understand that that's not exactly where I'm at, but I think both of you have a legitimate take there. Let's check in and see what's going on over here.
In their face. It's not very pleasant to be in this situation. I think Central Division normally gets these protests routinely, and they get a lot of them because the protests are normally downtown or at a place like SC. So these officers have been through this in the past. The question is, how do you make sure that this doesn't escalate? If there are rocks or bottles being thrown, the goal is to isolate the person that is the agitator.
That is exactly my point. If you are going to diffuse this, and they're not violent. I mean, we're seeing it. See, this looks like a public street here, so that's a whole different thing. I think they should be dragged right up out of there. That does not work for me. You cannot take up a public street. I don't want anybody rolling up on my ride, pulling my door open, or breaking my glass because I can't go anywhere. Everybody knows I'm trapped. That's unacceptable. But on the private property, you just go in slowly. They were negotiating. This has been going on throughout the country over the last few days, but even last night. Last night was crazy watching this stuff where the police were coming in. I forget what school it was, man. We're all over this country basically at this point. Look at that. They're just locked hands. You would have to be a complete buffoon to want to go in there and arrest them at this point. They just got hands. What are they doing? They're not in the street. They're just locking hands. What are we arguing about?
Beyond just protesting the war in Gaza, that they are, and we've seen them before. There are those people who just want the chaos that they could ensue from something like this. They will justify it as the proletariat, the people speaking, trying to get the institutions to change their horrific behavior. But in reality, for some of them, this is about getting into a fight. And we know there are people out there. They've talked to us. We've covered them before.
I'm not getting that vibe from these. I mean, some of them you do, but not this one. I'm not getting that vibe like it's likes to fight guy. Where are you getting that from? I'm not seeing that. They had plenty out. There's a lot of police there. They could have been throwing stuff. We didn't see anybody throwing anything. So I don't agree with that. I don't know where they're getting that from. I don't know why they're trying to portray them as something they're not. From the last couple days on the college campuses, I haven't seen anything get physical other than when the police got involved. You have to be able to, even if you don't like what they're protesting, you got to be able to have a consistent take on this. It's just like J6. When I look back at the J6 tapes, I keep calling them tapes, but obviously it's footage, a lot of it on Rumble and Telegram. When I look back at it, nothing really happened until I believe it was when tear gas got thrown into the crowd. I believe it was that. Other than that, they weren't doing anything. And we don't know how many are feds, just like here. We don't know how many are feds maybe to kind of It doesn't look like any because nobody's getting violent. The feds are the ones that are going to be violent and break the law. We're not seeing that right now. And when you deal with young kids and they're adults, the young adults, you want to be a rebel to something. And maybe they're figuring out that if I'm for Black Lives Matter and Nancy Pelosi's for Black Lives Matter, maybe I'm not really a rebel. And maybe they're just figuring that out. They're young. I'm older now, so I can quickly see those type of things. And even for me, it wasn't that easy. I can see those type of things. But maybe they didn't see that. Maybe they thought when they were saying anti-white that they really were rebels. But no, it's trained and it's part of training for many of these companies. How are you a rebel? When you're walking down the street with the rainbow flag, you're not a rebel. And young people have a natural need to rebel against the system, rebel against their advice from older people. And I don't think any of that's been fulfilled by listening to the regime. And I think that's part of playing the role in this too. And when you start seeing, we're seeing I think some people are calling it Occupy. Occupy was different, but in some ways you could say it's kind of like an Occupy because we had the Scott Galloway. I kept calling him Scott Gallagher. Scott Galloway had that great rant on MSNBC, and he was basically saying we set up our kids, the youth, in a way where it's hard to be successful financially. And what we're talking about is just like in the 1950s, you had a mother, father, a couple kids, a dog, a white picket fence. You go to vacation once a year, twice a year, and own a house. And on that one, even on just one salary, but let's just even say it's two salaries. They're not. When's that happening for them? That's in the backdrop of this. So the same people who set up that poor financial situation for them right there in the middle of the street, are telling them that they have to do this and do that. At some point, they're going to be like, I don't have to do anything that you told me to do. Because obviously you don't care. So I let them cook. Go ahead.
For the order to do, and working with campus security, working with the officials at USC, and now we are at this hour here that they are firmly entrenched on campus. Protesters aren't going anywhere, and you just look here and you see the LAPD Metro, and he's going to just show you here with batons ready, with visors down. This is really the first time we've seen them really ready to go into action. As we have been told to stand back, these protesters are doing the exact opposite, and now moving closer to the members of the LAPD as we keep a safe distance and move back to not get involved here. And once again, LAPD was telling us they are not expecting. Captain, tell us what the plan right now is, Captain.
We're here just supporting USC DPS. That's it. USC Department of Public Safety has us here to help and assist with this for trespass and issues regarding the university. And that's all we're trying to do.
That's good. I'm fine with that.
To try and allow these folks to leave, but unfortunately some people don't want to leave, and here we are.
So, Captain Fernandez, when you say we're here to assist, I barely see any campus security. It's LAPD that's going to have to go in and make these arrests, right?
We all look the same. And technically it's a USC DPS officer that will make that physical arrest. They'll hand it off to a USC officer, and we'll facilitate.
We seem to be at a standstill right now. What is the next step?
We're going by the numbers. We're being cautious. We're being careful. We have time on our side.
Yeah, what's the rush?
Going by the numbers.
De-escalation. We're taking things
Good answer.
slowly, methodically, to make sure we do the right thing to allow people to leave and allow that we protect everybody's rights.
Captain, are you seeing a de-escalation of sorts? Are we seeing the numbers decrease here on campus?
I believe so. I mean, now you have a bunch of looky-loos, but a lot of the large crowd that was almost sort of antagonistic has sort of pushed back. So we're doing our best.
Arrests so far?
We're getting there.
We're getting there. People have been arrested. We've seen that. We don't have numbers.
That was earlier in the day before we got here. Now we'll be dealing with this.
No injuries to anyone involved, including law enforcement at this point that you can tell us?
I will defer from this point forward to USC DPS and their PIO who should be here.
So you will be here as long as you need to be in the hopes that this will slowly de-escalate.
Exactly.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Captain
We
Fernandez,
appreciate you.
He did
we
well.
appreciate you. All right. Captain Fernandez.
Good interview, good answers. He was really very, because that was a good question. He's like, what do you mean I'm doing by the numbers? He could have answered it directly. It was just exactly what I was saying. If there's too many of the protesters and not enough police, you're setting yourself up to be kind of engulfed and in a bad position potentially. I think that's all he meant. Let's go to Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott was in a mood. He was wheeling himself around today. Wheeling himself in circles. He didn't know what to do. And he was a mess. Greg Abbott was a mess today, a hot mess. Greg Abbott tweets, arrests being made right now and will continue until the crowd disperses. Now we're going to Texas. These protesters belong in jail. I didn't see any. I don't know why you need to get to that point. What they were doing in LA seems better to me. I mean, they were bringing them away. You know, in LA, they're not taking them to jail. But listen to this. Anti-Semitism will not be tolerated in Texas, period. What happened to the first? You see how we're allowing them? It is not illegal. There is no definition for this word. This word does not have a definition. It's not illegal to be anti-Sem. I don't care what you feel about it. I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care how you might define it. It is a feeling, no different than racist or you could say somebody's ugly. It's an opinion or it looks good. He tweeted just dangerous tweets. I mean, he should be deleting these. Anti-Sem will not be tolerated in Texas, period. That's illegal. What do you mean it won't be tolerated? Of course, you don't even know how to define the term. Students joining in hate-filled anti-Sem protests at any public college or university should be expelled. Again, we have another violation here. Oh, let me take it back. He noted public college or university. So I apologize because at least Stefanik is not doing that. I think I have to look. Public is that's a whole different animal. As far as the public official being able to say somebody should be fired. That's a whole different thing. It's not a private. I know it's kind of mixed up, but I take that back. That statement, because he put public. So it's weird how he put public in there. I did not notice that the first time because I was so focused on the anti-Sem. The wording on this is very specific with the public college. Students joining in hate-filled anti-Sem protests at any public college. So I still have a problem there. That's the same problem with Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis said, man, how did I forget? We did that live on it where, yeah, he accused, he went further than this. He accused people, the same type of protest that we're seeing here. We didn't have video, but he accused them of being actually providing aid to an enemy country, basically as being a terrorist in Florida without due process. So you see what they're doing on the right, and the right or conservative, it just means, you know what it means. That's showing you there, right there. That's the guy that, one of the guys, look at the people that are alleged to be VP picks for Donald Trump. Greg Abbott, I don't know how serious he is, but Greg Abbott, Lisa Stefanik, J.D. Vance, they all have the same, well, all of them in D.C. do have the same take on this. This is what really set me off. I said, this is what happens when you challenge that country.
Information on what you're seeing right now. But again, Austin, Texas, live pictures coming in from the University of Texas.
I mean, we should say something. You know this very well, and John hinted it in his remark. You know, also, I mean, people think of Texas. Yeah, they think of the South. They think it's a pretty conservative place, and as have been pointed out, these protests so far that we've seen have been largely confined to these big East Coast, West Coast, northern universities. But it should be pointed out that Austin, University of Texas Austin, is a famously liberal campus. Austin itself.
So they brought it in, and the video that we saw after that, so that it made things worse, not better. What I'm seeing in LA looks, at least that one guy that we just saw speaking there, that looked better to me. Dr. Karlin Borisenko says the right can never complain about January 6th again if they cheer this. I agree. This was a great comment here where I don't even know who this is. Cyrene Malik said, the U.S. and its political elite have hit rock bottom. They beat their students in defense of Israel and the war criminal Netanyahu. Beating your students in the name of a war criminal is unprecedented madness. I just couldn't. I just almost want to retweet that again. It's that good. I'm just going to retweet it again. I mean, it's just bars. It's just unbelievable tweet. There was a tweet from Benjamin Netanyahu that it just shows you they're just doing too much. Here's Benny Ben.
What's happening on America's college campuses is horrific. Anti-Semitic mobs have taken over leading universities. They call for the annihilation of Israel. They attack Jewish students. They attack Jewish faculty. This is reminiscent of what happened in German universities in the 1930s. It's unconscionable. It has to be stopped. It has to be condemned, and condemned unequivocally. But that's not what happened. The response of several university presidents was shameful. Now, fortunately, state, local, federal officials, many of them have responded differently, but there has to be more. More has to be done. It has to be done not only because they attack Israel, that's bad enough. Not only because they want to kill Jews wherever they are, that's bad enough. It's also, when you listen to them, it's also because they say not only death to Israel, death to the Jews, but death to America. And this tells us that there's an anti-Semitic surge here that has terrible consequences. We see this exponential rise of anti-Semitism throughout America and throughout Western societies as Israel tries to defend itself against genocidal terrorists who hide behind civilians. Yet it is Israel that is falsely accused of genocide, Israel that is falsely accused of starvation and all sundry war crimes. It's all one big libel, but that's not new. We've seen in history that anti-Semitic attacks were always preceded by vilification and slander, lies that were cast against the Jewish people that are unbelievable, yet people believed them. And what is important now is for all of us who are interested.
I've had enough. So that's the prime minister of another country getting into our business. Stay out of our business. That's what I'll have to say. This is Greg Abbott in 2020. Today I prayed at the Western Wall in Jerusalem that God will continue to bless Israel and that God continue to strengthen the bond between Texas and Israel. May peace and prosperity continue to bless our two peoples. So that's where they take, I mean, damn near all of our politicians have gone there. He's a Catholic, by the way. I don't know, the wall has no significance for Catholics. It's just bending the knee is what it is. So this is what we saw, how the escalation happened, and this is Austin. So you're turning them into martyrs. And I think that's a mistake. I'm going to read some comments and I'm going to be out. Take a look. Ross Singh says, are the Jews infinitely victims? Yeah, it's a tough sell. I talked about that yesterday. They are trying to sell themselves as victims, and that's a tough sell. I just think they need to do something else. I think they need to be more authentic. They need to be more honest, is what they have to do. They have to stop with the games. Like you just heard Benjamin Netanyahu there saying, like, well, we're being accused of genocide when it's a lie. And he's called it a lie. We're accused of starving them out when it's a lie. And I mean, we know that's not a lie. So why are you lying? It's just not helping. It just doesn't help. Everything they do, it doesn't help. That's why they have to ban TikTok. They can't combat it with, you usually say you want free speech, so the best speech that can reach people wins, and they can't do that. Who are unliving babies. GB says, tough sell. It's prophesized. There's a point there. Yeah, Carlos on there. He talked about it. I'm not an expert in it. I'm reading, though. MG says, this is the first I've heard this. His health disqualifies him, truth be told, a VP. I didn't know that. Oh, thank you. And what's this? MG says, Middle MAGA, your tops for inspiring peaceful engagement of various viewpoints. That's good. I'm reading it like, are you trying to set me up? No, I appreciate it. That is what I would like to do. The creators I respect do that. Because I don't have the answer, so I need people that have a different point of view. I want to be convinced. Convince me otherwise. I think I'm going to end with this. I want the protesters to keep protesting like they are, especially on the private campuses. And then even in the, if they want to go to the streets, they can go to the streets in these blue areas. Just keep it away from where I live. Keep it in the cities, and go ahead and do your thing. Because it's against all the same people I'm not for. I just wish, GB said, what's up? Great to see you. You're against all the same people I'm against. Maybe it will show us that we could dap up for a second. I've never seen the populist right and left more united. No, we seriously haven't. Well, I'm seeing all kinds of populist left and right people kind of interacting. I'm like, well, this is weird. It's great. Not just populist left, but even like the authoritarian right and left. And it started happening after October 7th, and people started going into Nick's live who are on the left. And then they started, like Dr. K, she's more libertarian, but people from different echo chambers coming together, like we both agree on these things. It's kind of good. It's kind of good to see. More balanced? No, GB, you're very balanced. You don't give yourself enough credit. Mac Thomas says is Israel's wet dream regarding pacifying its indigenous population. Yep. He's completely paralyzed and his physical condition is quite difficult to live. I didn't know how bad it was. I knew he was obviously paralyzed and in the chair. It was a terrible accident or something, like a tree fell on him or something. I forgot, but it was a terrible he wasn't born like that or anything. I definitely appreciate your approach here. Thank you. Yeah, let's leave out on a positive note. I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. And hopefully, whatever happens, I want peace on these campuses. But I appreciate y'all. Peace.